Welcome everyone to Nareen's Life with MS. I am Nareen, and it is Saturday evening. Actually, I think it became Sunday now. It's past midnight, so that's that. But yeah, it's Sunday. It's Saturday night, and we are coming to very close to the end of uh, Travel Hangover Diaries, and uh, you know I will go over some of the last few things that I had an issue with when I was traveling. So the first thing I do want to talk about is, at least the thing I want to talk about today is, um, again, stiffness. But I mostly talked about stiffness in my hips, so pretty much extending down to my legs. So I'll just go talk about the stiffness in my upper body, and it predominantly works at my neck down to my shoulders, and it's especially present in my shoulders because, as I found out, I think, when I started going to the gym on Monday, was that my back is actually very tight, and as a result, I do have a lot of issues even being able to, be able to work out my upper body as a result. So, how did I notice this while I was on travel? So, normally, wherever you visit, normally people tend to have, pretty inflated pillows, right? Pillows are very fluffy, they're big, they're, very supportive of your neck, and those kinds of pillows are not my preferred type of pillows. My pillows, generally the one I sleep on here, is very, very thin. So a lot of times I'll even be happy to sleep without a pillow if I tend to feel like there is a little bit of strain on my neck. And this tends to happen just because I sleep slightly differently on my pillow. Now, how did this show up on my back especially? So a lot of times when I would sleep on my back, and I was just sleeping on my back as a result of these pillows being on the fluffier side, you know maybe lifting my neck a little more than I like it to, and it just causing a little bit of strain along my left shoulder blade, and it turning it a lot more stiff, and stiff in the way that I would wake up, I'd have trouble turning my neck. Definitely would have to stretch out every part of like my left arm until the pain or the stiffness would move from my left shoulder all the way up to my right shoulder, and then I'd have to do the same thing with my right shoulder until at least for me the stiffness disappeared. But as I found out when I went to the gym this week, that the stiffness still remained to pretty high extent, and as a result, that is something that I will definitely need to work out on. I'll definitely need to increase my flexibility, just so I can not only sleep better regardless of how big and fluffy my pillows are when I go anywhere, but also um, it would allow me a lot more range of motion when I am when I have a lot more free movement, especially in my shoulder region, and as a result in my neck as well. So this is one thing that I noticed. And because it was dealing with sleep, a lot of times what would happen is, and this just ended up happening, where I would fall asleep late, because we were traveling, we were having fun, we were partying, so we would fall asleep little later. And so I would pretty much fall asleep almost instantaneously. And then you know I'd wake up in the morning and I'd notice, there's pain here, then there's pain here, then there's pain here, then there's pain everywhere around my shoulders and my neck. And it would be in the way that, um, I would definitely have to stretch out my entire shoulders. And while it's become a lot better, I've stretched my shoulder and my back, I'd say for at least 3 days this week at the gym. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do the exact same next week. I will definitely focus on improving how um, how my flexibility, especially on around my shoulders, are, because that definitely also impacts uh, my it impacts pretty much everything from my stance to how I sit and stand, pretty much all of that. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is, if there is some form of pain or stiffness, it becomes very hard to sit up straight. It's very hard to kind of maintain that level of sitting up straight, because you know your body wants to kind of sit like this or like this, just because it's hurting to one way or the other. So that is one thing I did want to talk about today, and definitely point out that this also might not just be a thing I experience as a result of MS. I mean, it definitely could be. One thing that I definitely noticed was, while I tried to do as much home exercises wherever I was, a lot of times I maybe was not giving enough, and did notice quite a bit of muscle atrophy by the time I came back. And when I started again in the gym, I definitely had a very hard week. um, just realizing that, okay, my legs have shrunk, my arms have shrunk, my shoulder has shrunk, pretty much everything that should not have shrunk has shrunk, and everything that should not have increased has increased. So as a result, there is definitely a lot more work that I have to do. And I while uh, my trainer does mention that it will take just a couple of weeks to at least get my body mobile, and able to um, you know overcome a lot of the stiffness that just came about because of the travel. It is going to take a little more time to pretty much build back a lot of the muscle, build back a lot of the flexibility, build back a lot of the movement that I was capable of doing before I went on the trip. So that is one thing that I'll be focusing on, and I will definitely keep you updated on all of that. And with that being said, I think I am pretty much done for what I had to say for today. But I do want to segue into what is going to happen once Monday comes. So as I mentioned before, from Monday onwards, we will be going back to our regular daily vlogs, where every day would mean something else, where every day we talk about one specific topic, from Mondays being motivational Mondays, and on and on and on, all the way until your super Sundays. I do want to change a couple of things, because I do want to bring a little more personal flavor uh, into just this being my life with multiple sclerosis. So I do want to talk about certain things that are more related to MS, and definitely have the ability to interact with you on that front, where I talk about certain experiences I've had, certain things I've actually uh, practiced, or certain things that I've actually done, so that I can actually get your inputs on it, and definitely uh, definitely have more conversations in regards to all of those different topics that I tend to discuss. So that pretty much covers what is going to happen once Monday comes. And I'm very excited that tomorrow is going to be day 70, which means that um, I have been able to continue with giving you some form of content for the past 10 weeks. Of course, some days lapsed into the next morning, just because I was too tired, or sometimes a little lazy, and you'll get to know all about that as well. Uh, and I do know some were probably not the best um, content, but usually any of these videos I just pretty much create on the fly. I maybe think about them 1 to 2 minutes, for 1 to 2 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. If something just hits me, let's say while I'm working, or I'm thinking about something, or I'm maybe reading book, watching TV, something, uh, and something just strikes me, I will make a mental note of it, and then I'll talk about it later. So that's usually how I end up doing all of these vlogs. And so hopefully I can continue with all of them. But I do want to say that considering we're on day 69 today, and so that's very exciting. And then of course tomorrow is day 70. So I'm thinking I'll probably also post a very short post a short as well, to just celebrate the fact that we have come all the way to 70 videos. And with that being said, there are so many things that suddenly feel a lot easier to do, just because this is we are so close to getting to day 70. And that you know eh, doing these daily vlogs have become almost so commonplace that I don't even think about sometimes if I actually have something to talk about. So it's just become such a um, it's just become part of my daily schedule. I'm so thankful that I have gotten some very good feedback. I've gotten some very um, nice supporters who actually do believe in my message. So I hope I can continue this for as long as possible, and hopefully as a result of that this channel also experiences some growth. And to pretty much ready myself and ready get this channel ready for that future, these changes that I just talked about will come into the picture. And of course, I will discuss some of them tomorrow as to which kinds of changes there are going to be. And of course, because this is a channel that discusses daily vlogs, I also don't want to create content that is going to be very repetitive over and over. So chances are, this channel is going to morph over time, and there is going to be a lot more um, featured content. There is going to be a lot more a lot of other things that are going to happen, and I'm very excited for that. Haven't thought about majority of them, let me just tell you that straight up, but I am pretty hopeful that all of those will happen. So yes, thank you so much. And as always, this is Nareen's Life with MS. I am Nareen, and I hope you had a great Saturday and are all ready to relax on Sunday, and of course finishing off your weekend in style. So good night, everyone.